What is going on? Welcome. I am Michael, your astrologer, and this is the special astrological forecast for the solar eclipse in Aries. And a lot of you on my Instagram asked me to share my thoughts on this solar eclipse, and it's pretty appropriate for me to come back after a whole year of being silent, astrologically at least, and retrieving, and it's a good time to start in Aries season for anyone. But especially also, I think it's my duty in a way, or it's an invitation for me to share because I got my moon in Aries and Jupiter in Aries and North Node in Aries. There's a lot going on in the collective that I understand, that I feel, and that I think I can give my 2 cents on how to deal with it, because it's been part of my journey, 37 years almost. So this is a solar eclipse, first and foremost. It's not just any solar eclipse. It's with a Mercury retrograde, one, and I'll explain everything in just a second, just setting the stage. And secondly, it is very tied to a Pluto cycle, which means Pluto is our last planet. I know it's not considered a planet in astronomy, but Pluto is a shadow, so that's interesting. So Pluto just came into Aquarius, right? And I'll explain more in detail the exact cycle. But Pluto comes into Aquarius 3 times. Happened in 2023, September. Happened 24th of January of this year. Will happen again in September of this year. Because Pluto goes back and forth over this point. And then in September, 2nd of September, I think, somewhere around there, it's September, it will be there for the rest of the next 20 years. So that's the big deal. Now, there's, of these 3 times, 2 times when it came into Aquarius, it happened just around the solar eclipse, like within days. That's very significant. So it is very much tied to us as a collective, is what I'm saying. It is very much tied to this new Aquarian energy, and you could say we are entering Aquarian age, the Aquarian age of illumination, of the people, of groups, of community gathering, of rebellion, of individualization, of understanding who we are as a collective, but also as an individual. And out of the age of Pisces, which was all about dreams and actors and music and illusion, the dream, right? The dream that was represented in movies. So now it's about getting real. So anyway, I would summarize this solar eclipse as 1, throwing yourself into the fire of your spiritual journey, and 2, changing timelines. And changing timelines is pretty accurate in the sense that CERN in Switzerland is about to make a collision with their reactor on the 8th of April on the solar eclipse. So that's interesting because they're searching for dark matter. And I read in an article that they, and that happened after I prepared for this forecast, that they are going to probably be discovering the unknown or something that will open a gate or a new dimension. And since time is linked to space, changing timelines is pretty appropriate here. So, but okay, let me start with the start. Eclipses are volatile. Eclipses are crazy in energy. Okay, and they change your life period. In the area of your chart, your astrological birth chart, there's 12 charts, there are 12 areas So like the home, the family, relationships, food, whatever. It will change your life. It is a fate-based, more fate-based thing happening. And so this is a new beginning because it's a new moon, but it's also something that is ending. And it's in Aries. So it's about taking action. It's about the warrior. It's about self-confidence. I hope you can hear me still with this, with the wind, obviously. We are in a Mercury retrograde right now whilst I'm recording, and I cannot tell you how much I had to go through. Well, I'll actually share it in just a second because it will represent especially what this is all about. But let me set the stage a little bit further first. So it's a new beginning. It's volatile. We also have Jupiter conjunct Uranus. Uranus is the planet of like disruption, of rebellion, of liberation, and of unexpected energy. And so Jupiter magnifies. So unpredictable energy is at an all-time high, and I don't think we will ever experience it as such again, ever. You know, it's something very like rigid to say, and I'm but it is very close to that, I'd have to verify 100%, but it is very close. So we are changing, and everything that where we thought that everything was going to go, it will not, it will most likely not go. There will be a change of route, and there's just so much aspects that is saying that. Mars is in Pisces, the ruler of Aries. Mars in Pisces is blinded. It does not know where it is going. It is also restricted by Saturn, which also helps it a bit, but it has to hit some walls first before it can continue. Eclipses are changing, and then Jupiter in conjunct Uranus is a changing energy, and Mercury is retrograde in Aries, which is all about changing your mind and rethinking. So yeah, it is fair to say that you don't know where this is going, that you have zero ideas, that you can try all that manifestation you want. It will most likely happen in a way you never expected. No, I will tell you this. It will happen in a way you never expected. This is it's the craziest energy. So, new moon, solar eclipse on the North Node, which means the moon is there too, right? The moon and the sun are conjuncting the North Node. Moon on its own North Node, which means we will be more reactive, more instinctive. The instinct will take over. In Aries, which is the instinct of reacting by doing, right? So there's this energy of just reacting, fighting with our environment. Aries, moon in Aries, I can tell you, with the moon in Aries, I can tell you that you are fighting with your environment, whatever it is. So the moon is your needs, your emotional needs, your safety, your security. So where you don't feel safe and where you don't feel your needs are being met, then you will fight. You will act with anger or overprotection. So let's just say, to give you a personal example, having children, 2 children, just a newborn, and having to really wake up at night, and I need to work during the day, and I want to sleep, and after a couple of months, that's pretty intense. So you want to sleep, so that when you have your intention set on sleeping, which is not something you should be doing when you just had 2 children. Anyway, I think it's normal, but you're going to act and react, with anger. It's like frustration. That's an example. But also it could be when when you go to a restaurant, don't get the food you expected, or when you go to a country or come to Spain, and where there's always sun, but for this week you had rain, which happened to some friends of ours. It's insane, but that's what I'm talking about. It could be in your relationship, could be with your friends, could be with your personal growth, whatever it is. You will fight with your environment. You will act with anger because there's something that you're afraid of, because some needs are not being met. And it is very instinctive. It is instinctive energy. Instinctive energy is not rational. It acts because it feels threatened, or its emotional security is not being met. Instinctive is a reptilian kind of energy. It's the reptilian brain. So I'm saying all of this because this will depend how you react on how you have learned to act on your instincts or not act on your instincts. Because instincts is a human thing. It's like it's sex, it's food, it's procreation, it's survival. But as humans, we have obviously, two other brains, cortex and neocortex, which is all about the ability to take a step back and not be prone as much to our instincts and to our just to reaction, going from reaction to response ability, the ability to respond versus react. So, going into a fight with someone, if you learn if you learn nonviolent communication, for instance, you learn that it's not about just instantly reacting to what someone said that made you upset, but to really experience that emotion for just a second, instead of instantly like fuck you, or just like when someone cuts you off on the street, like right, fuck you. But just like really feel that feeling, feel that emotion, and then express what you are experiencing to that person with the fact. Anyway, what I'm saying is you don't need to be prone so much to your instincts. So it will depend on how much centeredness you have, on how much you are in your center, on how much you are just able to take ownership over what you do, think, and say. So this solar eclipse conjunct the North Node, conjunct Chiron, exact. Chiron is the wound we experience all as humans, right? And collectively, now in Aries, it's our inability to take action. I can give you a personal example on, and I think many people, the war in Gaza and how you see it happening. And I at least think like, what can I do more? Like I feel this hurt, this pain of like having to see this happening. And yes, I'm sharing the information. Maybe not as much as I could, but and also I'm signing petitions, and but you want to stop the war. But there's so much other stuff going on. There's politicians, there's other people, there's like, where to fucking begin is what I'm saying. And that hurts. And it's this hurt, this pain on the inability to act, first and foremost, that we're experiencing, and that in your personal life. Secondly, Chiron in Aries is the wound on the ego. It's the wound on the self-image. It's also the wound of the father. And with Mars in Pisces conjunct Saturn, this is religious dogma, and this is your inability to believe for yourself. And this is healing the wound, because, this Chiron is the invitation to heal that wound through a crisis that we are experiencing, meaning a pain of the inability to act, or the other thing which you could be doing is overcompensating and just act blindly without thinking, and then going into a burnout. Um, so this is where you are hurt in your emotional safety, emotional security, where you are not able to take action or overcompensating. And it's a wound of the patriarchy and religion with Mars in Pisces, which is religion, conjunct Saturn, the dogma. So where are you following blindly something you believe that you haven't thought through? Mercury retrograde in Aries. That's the beauty of Mercury retrograde now, which is going to give us a lot of shit and will show you where you're hurt, but it will give you the realization on what to do, So this Mercury retrograde cycle is so tied to this eclipse. And because 2 or 3 days after, 4, on the 12th of April, we have a Mercury conjunct the Sun, which is important because that's a new cycle between those two planets, and that's our insight and how to act on our creative potential and to speak it out. And we have to see then, where did the cycle start? The cycle started in the Mercury conjunct Sun, Cazimi, which is what that means, happened in Pisces on the 28th of February. So the crisis of taking action, of feeling wounded, of overprotection, of you seeing where you're not able to act, and the realization that comes is tied to the Mercury Sun Saturn conjunction on the 28th of February, which is about what is your spiritual responsibility? Where's your spiritual spine? How are you going to connect your critical thinking with your action? How are you going to say what you do? How are you going to take responsibility for what you believe in, what dogma you follow, whatever, And this is the thing why I'm saying you have to throw yourself into the fire of your own spiritual journey, because Mercury's in Aries, the solar eclipse is in Aries on Chiron. It's about doing, and that conjunction in Pisces is a new cycle with Saturn and the Sun, which then 3 days later, after the solar eclipse, is a Mercury Cazimi, but retrograde. So rethinking what happened when on the 28th of February, around there, for me, that was, I just became a father 6 days after. And that threw a whole, that started a whole thing of what does it mean to be father, and what does it mean to be in a relationship with 2 children, and what does it mean to, have a business and not be able to do, and money and blah, blah, blah. That was my personal journey. What's your personal journey? What happened around 28th of February? And then that insight will come around the 12th of April on what you need to do, because Mercury is now in Aries. What it started about in Pisces, about like what you believe in and what you follow, and what's your spiritual spine, your spiritual integrity. Now it's about what you can do. And then it will be conjuncting again on the, somewhere in June, whatever, 20th of June, 24th of June, somewhere around there, with Venus in Gemini. Mercury, Sun, Venus conjunction in Gemini. This is about love in communication. This is about the idea, and about writing it, and about speaking it, and about like you putting it in action in words. The words will come there. and you will put it in action. It will be like you will study something. You will, change something in your close environment. It will come into like an idea on how to proceed, and it will come like you will start communicating about it with other people, so it becomes very tangible. And this is the beauty about this solar eclipse on the North Node on Chiron is about healing Chiron, healing that wound of the father, wound of the patriarchy, wound of your belief in something. Like in this society where we grew up, where we, really are indoctrinated blindly in school, with our friends, with our parents, whatever. After thousands of years of Catholicism, Christianity, blind Christianity, there's nothing wrong with Catholicism and Christianity. It's just a blind belief, and like you have to believe this, you have to suffer in order to go to the promised land. And now it's your task, it's your invitation to throw yourself into the fire of your own spiritual journey and question, is this really true? To test it, to verify it, to understand where your spiritual spine is and where you have that inability to act or overcompensate. With Mercury retrograde, you will discover where you overcompensate. You will discover where you feel a pain, a wound, where you're overprotective in your beliefs. Mars in Pisces, and it is about changing timelines, because that North Node, South Node is linked to Pluto, evolutionary astrology. Pluto came into Aquarius. And what did I say in the beginning? In the beginning, I said that Pluto came into Aquarius and within days of a solar eclipse in Aries. Now it happens the same, like a couple of months after. It's the first solar eclipse since Pluto came into Aquarius. It is the first solar eclipse in 23rd of January when Pluto came into Aquarius. It is tied to that cycle. And this is your last chance, because Pluto in Aquarius is about seeing the future, is about coming together in the community and gets those ideas and sees exactly collectively what needs to be changed, because it has that vision. But the problem with Pluto in Aquarius is that you are unable to put those ideas into action. That's just the fate of a Pluto in Aquarius. The Pluto in Aquarius fate is like, I am waiting for others to initiate. And here's the beauty. How much of a message is this? That Pluto comes into Aquarius and happens within days and is the first cycle, the first cycle of a solar eclipse right after. There's no other Pluto in Aquarius tied to an eclipse ever again within our lives. And it never happened. And Pluto ingressing into a sign and then the solar eclipse into Aries is the invitation to fucking act, to heal that wound, to do, the energy of like the warrior of critical thinking and acting on your spiritual spine and healing that wound by doing. That's the beauty of it. That's like the gift that we get, to take charge, to over our destiny, to change timelines thus. And there's, that's why I think CERN knows what it's doing, because, well, maybe it's just happening unconsciously, but they're going to change timelines for the collective. But what is your timeline going to look like? And so that's why I would say this is about remaining centered, because Mars and Pisces, this is about throwing yourself into the fire of your spiritual journey, because Mars in Pisces does not know where it's going. So here's what you have to do is just set your intention, know where you're going, and take massive action on it, and then know that everything is not going to go the way you expect it. But that's fine, because Mars in Pisces is just guided. It is about waiting for the next step to be unveiled, to take action on, because Mars is conjunct Saturn. And when you implement, the promise is that it is going to last. The change is going to last. So my question is, how does your timeline look like? How does your future look like? See it, feel it, experience it, know it, especially feel it, because that's the most important thing. I always teach to my clients, this is not like the affirmations don't work if you don't know it, if you don't feel it, and if you don't do it from a state of heart-brain coherence, if you don't express it. Those are the things that have to happen. You have to express it. And that's beautiful, because Mercury is going to go into Gemini, that Kazemi. So it's about expressing it. It's about knowing it. It's about seeing it. And yes, and it's about doing it. It's about taking action. It's about feeling it, because feeling it is the energy and it sends it out into the universe. And it's about doing it, implementing it, because you're showing to the universe that you really want it, that you know it, that you trust it, that you now are blindly guided towards what you want to experiment with, because it's just what we're here to do, because you're just able to experiment because for the sake of it, for the love of it, because it's just possible, because it's cool, because you want it, because it's like, yes, because that's why we're here to do. So, you feel me? And that's why being centered, and I will share more about this, but being centered is all about being connected to the 7 directions. Left, right, front, back, up, down, center, within. When you do that, then you experience being whole already. And when you experience that you're whole already, you are an individual knowing and realizing that you are all that is, and you just experiment for the love of it. You just follow your soul's purpose. You come into alignment with it without having to come from a part of like, this has to happen, and you trust the guidance. And there's this peace of mind, because you realize that there's so much higher force at work, that there's a higher plan, and you catch the signals and you go along with it. So it's surrendered action, really. So if you want to stay tuned for this. Well, I can tell you this, I have so much coming up to share with you on how to be whole, my take on it, my journey to be whole, to be human, to be a human that is whole. Stay tuned. And if you want to stay updated, let me know. Ask me. Say yes. Like, if you want to know more, if you want to feel and hear more, let me know. Hello, yes. And in the meantime, also, I have a tribe available for you where you can learn to live cyclically, live in integrity with yourself, and live your story to become the author of your own life. I'm also here to guide you on your journey in your one-on-ones. I'm taking 6 one-on-ones after coming back, after my paternity leave. You can do an astrological reading. I'll see you there. So much love. I hope this guidance gave you everything you needed and more. I'd be happy to hear, well, how you're experiencing the solar eclipse, and looking forward to share more with you on my journey. Stay tuned. Much love. Peace.